What's up, everybody? I'm Josh Meek, the Uber Geek. Welcome to Pretty Dece, your daily entertainment and pop culture show. Today on the show, we're going to talk about video games again, of course, because it is E3 week, as you know. And today we're going to talk about one of the games that I am probably the most excited about coming out of E3 this year. Of course, we get a ton of announcements, lots of crazy stuff happens, but I'm maybe most pumped for the game Cyberpunk 2077. Now, this is the game that's being developed by CD Projekt Red, the development team behind the wildly popular Witcher series. There have been 3 main entries there, of course, and DLC. But if you don't know, Witcher is this kind of series of sprawling open-world fantasy RPGs that kind of feature this sort of gritty version of this fantasy world. They are based on a book series, and they are, incredibly popular, super long games, super dense games. So Cyberpunk seems like, in some aspects, it's following along in that trend. It seems like an RPG that's going to be very dense and very long and feature a ton of content. But as far as kind of setting-wise, it is an incredible departure from the fantasy setting of Witcher. Cyberpunk is set in this kind of like neo-futuristic world, and the name says it all. This is a cyberpunk adventure that we are going on. Now, the first trailer for this game, the first really look we got at it, dropped here at E3, and the trailer is very short, but incredibly dense. There's so much going on in this trailer. You could go through it frame by frame and pick out little details and kind of weird, crazy stuff that you want to know more about. There's tons going on in this trailer, and it's just oozing, dripping with style. It shows, as I said, this kind of crazy cool neo-future world that looks like this more colorful version of Blade Runner mixed with Deus Ex. It's as if the Netrunner card game and the Shadowrun RPG came to life, and you actually got to see all the awesome artwork in both of those properties moving around and interacting with each other. It's very, very cool, and a lot of times when you see stuff set in the future, a slightly dystopian future, things are dark, things are gritty. I love that this world is full of color, full of neon, and very vibrant, and I think that's going to be a really cool contrast to some of the dark stuff that's going on in the world. Now, people have been getting their hands-on demo of this game at E3, like a 50-minute long demo. So people have seen, almost an hour of this game so far. So the first details there are starting to trickle out. First of all, this is a first-person RPG, unlike Witcher's third-person view, but it still does offer the deep character customization that you come to expect from RPGs like this. Your character, you don't see them when you're playing the game because you're first person, but you see them in cutscenes, and both the male and female versions of the main character are fully voiced. So your character has a personality, has a name, has a story, is not just the faceless, protagonist of the game. You are playing as a character named V, and V is this hired gun on the rise in the city the game is set in. And that city is called Night City in the, quote, free state of North Carolina. And there are 6 districts throughout the city, so expect the general look of the game to change kind of as you move around in your surroundings. And, one of the details that I'm most excited about as far as the character creation goes is that the character creation seems to focus not just on the look of your character, but details about your character's background as well. So while you're creating your specific version of the character V, you choose a background, a key life event, and a purpose for being in Night City. So an example of a background might be that you have unfinished business. A key life event might be that an ex-lover is in town, and your reason for being in Night City might be that you have something to prove. Now, these are obviously very vague and broad, just kind of intentionally, but just like with a pen and paper RPG, I love this concept because they give you a starting point for inventing an elaborate backstory in your head as you play the game. They also give you a leg up when you're trying to roleplay as V. You can make decisions and choose options in like decision trees based on what you know of V's motivations because you selected them at the start of the game. That's pretty sweet, and I'm really excited to see all the subtle ways they blend in your life event and backstory and purpose into the things that they show you as the game goes along. I'm really excited to flesh out the character of V and create my own unique version as I play the game. It's one of the coolest things about RPGs when done well. Now, the game, of course, has a class system because it is an RPG, but you don't just pick one, which is nice, so you can kind of choose traits from all three of them. Those classes are Netrunner, Techie, and Solo. I have no idea about the details of those classes, but super cool names. And your traits, unlike the normal kind of D&D traits that you might expect, include things like reflexes, tech, and a trait just called cool. So obviously I'm going to dump all my points in cool because if you're not cool, what's the point? It also seems like driving is a big part of this game. So in a kind of weirdly Grand Theft Auto-esque way, the futuristic car that your character has portrays a prominent role in the trailer, and you'll be driving that car around the city. That's your main means of getting from point to point. You can toggle between first and third person driving, and you better enjoy the driving because as you go, you'll actually run into random encounters while driving. For example, gang members that you've tangled with previously in the game might show up to chase your car down, which then leads to you having your partner take the wheel while you shoot at them out the window. Stuff like that, kind of dynamic things happening to make the world feel more full and vibrant as you're going from mission to mission are really awesome. You know, games like Red Dead have done that in the past, where kind of random chance encounters can pop up, and it makes your particular experience feel very unique. It feels like the world is living and breathing around you, and I think that's really cool. So I hope that there's enough of those that they feel varied, and you're excited about when they happen instead of having them be kind of a slog just to get through. So, you know, this game seems very rooted in the tropes of Cyberpunk. Obviously, it's right there in the name. You've got warring corporations, you've got colorful gang warfare, you have nanomachines and cyber implants, you have holograms, you've got terminals and creds and hacking. It's kind of all there. And they are going kind of like very rote with that stuff. You know, they have net running and they're doing all of the sort of tropes of the genre, but I'm perfectly okay with that because that's not something we get in video games very often. It seems perfectly fit for a video game, but again, we don't see it all that often. You know, something like Shadowrun is inherently this cool setting, and just getting to exist in that world sounds like an absolute delight. So I'm excited to explore that world. I hope the game strikes a balance between the fun action of shooting and driving with the deep RPG elements of dialogue trees and gaining skill points and earning reputation. Basically, I hope it's a CD Projekt Red game with also really good shooting and driving. But I fully expect that they are going to get to that point. You know, they have an awesome track record with making really fantastic games. Now, we have no release date yet for this game. They're playing that a little close to the chest, but we know the game has been in development for quite a long time, and everything that we've seen so far here this week at E3, things look pretty good. So I think there's maybe a vague chance that we see this game by holiday season of this year, but we'll definitely see it, I think, by the first half of next year based on some hints from CD Projekt Red themselves. So, grand scheme of things, not that much longer to wait for this awesome looking game. So that's going to do it for Pretty Dece for today. Thank you very much for joining me to talk about Cyberpunk 2077. If you like the show and want to see more, new episodes of Pretty Dece premiere weekdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/PrettyDeceShow. You can also check out these daily episodes on the podcast feed and on the YouTube channel. You can find that at prettydeceshow.com/video or searching for Pretty Dece on YouTube. Finally, catch me on Facebook and Twitter at Pretty Dece Show.